Hello, welcome, good morning, good night. 1 second, we'll give everyone a moment to join in as everyone's got different Wi-Fi features and speeds. A few more seconds. Hope you're doing well. Again, welcome to our weekly AMA. We have GeoDNet, Tashi, and Rover. If you have any questions at any point, there is that function of Q&A. All right, you got it. Okay, Hera, sure. There's a function of the Q&A where you can ask those questions, and then one of us will either text respond to you, or we'll ask you to unmute, or we'll just simply answer your question, right? So feel free to use that throughout our call. And without further ado, we'll jump into introductions, and then we'll get into business. So first off, for all of you new people joining, hello. My name is Teddy. I do marketing for both Rover and GeoDNet, and it's a great time. I recently joined the team. So we'll pass it on to Gary. Go ahead, Gary.
Hi everyone. I think some people knows me, and I'm the project creator of the rover. And I think you know the rover is a decentralized 3D data platform, focused the collecting and the processing the 3D data, yeah, around the world. Yeah.
Nice. And then we'll go with Nathan, Hera, and then we'll end with Ken because it's a special guest.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Nathan. I'm the chief of staff of GeoDNet, and I guess what I do is a little like event planning and scheduling stuff.
Nice.
Hey everyone, this is Hera. I will use this cute kitty as my avatar today because I didn't wash my hair. So, I think everyone knows me. I'm the social media manager of GeoNet. So, good morning and welcome, Ken.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Ken Anderson. I'm the CTO of Tashi, and I'm sure we'll get to talk a little bit more about what Tashi is here in a sec.
Yes. Nice. But before we get to introducing Ken a little bit more, we do want to hit you with our company updates. And Ken, if you have any you would like to share on Tashi's side, if you want to save it for your portion, by all means. But we have, again, our giveaway for Rover, and that is 5 Tarantula X's that ends on 11:30, which midnight, which is the last day of November for a lot of us. So if you'd like to join, you can join via our various socials. I think X has the best follow through for that. Would be happy to have any of you and all of you join. You can also share with your family, multiple entries as well. They're all free. And without further ado, here is Ken. Ken, we know that you are a part of Tashi, and we know that you are a CTO. For those of you that don't know what a CTO is, it stands for Chief Technology Officer. Correct me if I'm wrong. But let's go ahead. Ken, what is Tashi, and why did you decide to join?
Yeah, well, I'm one of the co-founders, and I would say I'm kind of the inventor of it, except for I'm standing on the shoulders of giants in what we built. But I was historically, I came out of the telecom space, doing a lot of system integration development there. Started a couple of my companies, had a few exits in that space, ended up joining Hedera Hashgraph as one of the founding employees there as their chief developer advocate for 3.5 years. So if you're familiar with Hedera, one of the top 20 public networks, and the reason I joined them was because they had this cool thing called the Hashgraph algorithm, which is probably one of the best consensus algorithms from a finality and a trustworthy perspective. And I kind of fell in love with the algorithm. And a few years later, I was like, okay, I'm going to leave Hedera. I'm going to go do some fun stuff on the outside of Hedera. And I thought, what can I do with this Hashgraph algorithm? Because I was so impressed with it. So I ended up partnering with Amar and Jay, who are my co-founders. We put together some funding. We built a proof of concept of rewriting the Hashgraph algorithm in Rust. And we made some adjustments to it. We tuned it specifically for low latency at the time and ended up making a bunch of changes to the core algorithm itself. So it's while it is a derivative of the hashgraph algorithm, it is not technically the hashgraph algorithm itself. And but we found that we were getting like sub 30 millisecond latency on finality. And to give you context, Hedera on its public network does about 2 to 5 seconds of latency. Most public networks are somewhere in the 1 to 5 second latency for finality. Even some of those that are very fast consensus are at about 600 milliseconds. We're at about 30 milliseconds for these small networks that we're working on. So the consensus algorithm is incredibly fast. And it's all math, right? So there's nothing here that is, we're not skipping steps, we're not being magical or anything like that. This is 100% finality. And so we're like, well, what are we going to do with this consensus algorithm? So in gaming, we started off, our proof of concept was, can we build a multiplayer game with no servers? Like, could we set it up where the players themselves are peers in a consensus session? And we were successful in that. We built an SDK for Unity. We're actually having an Unreal Engine SDK being built right now. And what that looks like is basically if you've got five friends who want to play a game together, they want to play Minecraft or something together, you don't have to talk to servers that are far away that you have to pay for or rent or whatever. You just talk to each other and you just synchronize behind the scenes using Tashi's consensus algorithm. So that was kind of the start of Tashi. But along the way, we did some other stuff. We built a decentralized message queue broker for IoT because it just made sense, right? So if you have a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of machines that all want to synchronize with each other, and you want to cross trust boundaries, which I think is the big deal here is, you own some devices, I own some devices. How do we get our devices to talk together without either you being the source of truth or me being the source of truth? Like we don't want to trust each other. And so we built that again, sub 30 millisecond latency, depending on distance and size of the network and everything. But we're doing this actively right now. We've got a cluster set up in the US and a cluster set up in Europe that a bunch of people are using for like web-based applications. And along that way, as we were kind of solving the IoT problem at the same time, we were like, well, wait a second, we can help out with robotics too. And so the way to think about it is anytime that there is a set of peers in a trustless environment across trust boundaries, and you want them to synchronize across those trust boundaries at the edge, Tashi is that synchronization layer. And we like to say we are the coordination layer for intelligent systems. And why that's important is as we move towards an AI driven robotics future, we're going to have a lot of agents that represent our interests. There are going to be potentially trillions of agents out there, right? Whether there are cars or sensors or legitimate robots, robo lawnmowers or robo taxis. They're going to be agents everywhere and they're going to be owned by different people and they're going to be managed by different people and the interests aren't always going to be aligned. And we want to be able to synchronize or coordinate those robots across those trust boundaries. And so
Mm-hmm.
we are that coordination layer.
Wow, that's a great way of putting it. I think this right here is one of my favorite graphics on the site. Can you tell me a little bit more about what this means?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, there's a lot of vision that comes into the scenario, and maybe the best way to explain our robotics vision is maybe through an example. We're actually building a demo video around this to demonstrate it, and I'm going to be running out and meeting out with a bunch of robotics companies in San Francisco, and my partner Amar's in China doing the same thing. But maybe, imagine this. Imagine you have a lost child in a forest
Mm-hmm.
and you've got a number of robots that are going to do a search and rescue mission, right? So you come out to the forest, you drop off a bunch of robots, and maybe they belong to different people. Maybe you've got some that belong to the sheriff's department, some that belong to the police department, some that belong to National Guard, maybe some private robots that have the capabilities. And people drop these robots off. Now, the challenge is when you're in the forest, you don't always have internet connectivity. Even if you have Starlink, even if you have some short field communication capabilities, you don't necessarily they don't necessarily communicate through a centralized server consistently. But as long as they can talk to each other, we can use Tashi to A, have them scan the environment and share the results of their scanning. So now
Mm-hmm.
this probably is ringing some bells for you, Teddy and Gary, of like how multiple systems can synchronize their data sets locally in these small clusters. So they do what's called scan, plan, and execute is kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Scan,
They
plan, execute.
they
Okay.
scan the environment and share the scanning data. Then they make their plans about how are we going to divide the job between each other. Okay, you're going to go this direction and cover this quadrant. I'm going to go this direction. And we're going to cover this quadrant or this radian vector here, right? And so we make a plan and we all agree on the plan. So we all synchronize and agree on the plan. and then we execute. And then as we're executing, we're rescanning and replanning and constantly keeping each other updated between each other, right? So this is a multi-robot
Hmm.
job scenario. And if somebody does get connectivity, say somebody gets, goes to a high point, they now have Starlink access and they've got a Starlink connector on the robot itself, or maybe they have access to some type of, line of sight connectivity, they can update the centralized servers with a state proofed, assigned state of all of the robots working together. So all the robots are validating each other on the scanning, planning, and execution. So they're all validating each other. They're taking the history of all of their work and cryptographically signing it in certain stages. So maybe like a running hash with signatures, multi-sig state proofs of what's going on in this entire search and rescue effort, and then uploading that as snapshots back to the central servers for everybody to kind of keep track of the progress of the entire effort. So, the part that we're really focused on is the swarm of robots. How do we keep that swarm synchronized in their scanning, planning, execute functionality? And then how do we generate a state proof that can be sent back to the centralized servers or to the party servers for those updates? So that's probably the best way to think about it. So this image is really about how do we align the efforts of robots with the interests of those that they own? And then how do we keep those synchronized and validated between swarms and clusters of robots?
Okay, okay. Gary, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, kind of think it's the Tashi network is kind of like the AD hoc network, right? The
What's that?
self-organized
Yeah,
the
like an ad hoc.
self-organized
Oh,
network.
ad hoc. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
ad
it's yeah,
hoc.
it's
Yeah.
that's exactly right. So the idea is that you should be able to have ad hoc networks everywhere, but the thing that we add to it is low latency synchronization of the data, right? So we got depending on how far the nodes are from each other. If they're very close, it could be very low latency because a lot of this has to do with network speed. But the additional part is the state proofs, right? So as we're witnessing each other's activities, we're validating the decisions and the outcome between each other. And then we're taking the history, the log of all of that activity and signing that. So we're creating a multi-signed, multi-signature state proof that then can be used to validate the execution and maybe even do things like fine-tuning later in the future. But it can also validate the efforts of the various machines in that cluster.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Nice. Oh, this is
amazing,
so
amazing.
exciting.
Yeah.
And before we get too ahead of ourselves, right, because that's further down the line, let's talk a little bit about what's happening right now with Tashi, right? So we
Yep.
have this screenshot. This is from my
Yep.
own profile. Ken, can you tell us what's happening here?
Yeah, so you're doing really well on your XP. So well done, sir. Well done. Yeah, so if you go to dpin.tashi.network, that's the dashboard. It's actually getting a nice refresh right now, so we're going through that. That should be launched next week as well before we go into our TGE, which is coming up. That's the big news.
Yes.
December 2nd is our launch pool. So we're going to be setting up our launch pool with Metaplex. And so you'll be able to participate in that on December 2nd. Then on December 4th, we're launching our token generation event. And so at the TGE, our tokens will then be available on various DEXs and SEXs so people can start trading on it. What you're seeing right now is probably what I would point everybody to is the dashboard, dpin.tashi.network. If you go there, sign in with the Solana wallet. Right now, we've got a faucet for you to grab Tashi from Solana DevNet. This is all in the developer model right now, but the idea here is that you can participate in our awareness and node setup campaigns. So you can actually launch a node and participate in our network. We're tracking all our nodes. You can see right now we've got 54,000 plus nodes. And our goal is to have a Tashi node within 20 milliseconds of everybody in the world. Now, the way to think about this is we have what we call Vertex, which is the consensus engine that we were just talking about, right? When we build these small clusters, they're solving very specific jobs. So it is a job specific cluster of devices who are running Tashi to stay synchronized between each other. That's called Vertex, right? So that's the
Hmm.
Vertex stack. Then we have Lattice, which is our DPIN. And the purpose of Lattice is to help set up and maintain and make resilient vertex clusters. So if you think about devices, devices are often behind firewalls or NATs. There are network barriers or network friction. The DPIN's job is to act basically like a decentralized cloud to help structure these mesh nets, these vertex mesh nets, that allow them to operate reliably. So an example of that would be like, okay, I've got a job that I want to do. I want to play a multiplayer game. I want to connect with other robots in my neighborhood that have specific capabilities. You would go to Lattice and you would say, hey, Lattice, I need 5 robots to solve this problem. And then Lattice would go, okay, we're going to create a discovery service for that. So any robot that's out there is listening would now be aware of it. They'd go through almost like a matchmaking process. In gaming, we think of it as matchmaking. It would stand
Mhm.
up a lobby in Lattice, and a lobby would be a key value store that they all share for setting up their session. And then they would, same thing, scan, plan, and execute using Lattice as the starting point. And then any devices that are behind a NAT or a firewall would use Lattice as a proxy. So if they can't talk to each other directly, they can talk through Lattice nodes to which is these resource nodes that are getting set up on our DPIN. So Lattice is really kind of that substrate that makes these mesh nets easy to set up and use and reliable and resilient through all kinds of different network anomaly scenarios.
Oh, so that's how you bypass a lot of the security and then also the different settings. Not necessarily
Yeah.
bypass, but work through. I guess it's synonymous.
Yeah, I mean, we're still privacy preserving, and it's up to you as the developer to decide what levels of privacy you want. End-to-end encryption is always a thing, but if you want to use relays, great. If you don't want to use relays and you'd rather use a VPN, you can do that as well. So on the Vertex layer, as a developer, you get to choose what type of security model you use. But if you just want to do a plug and play connectivity of various devices, then you can just go to Lattice and say, "Hey, I need someone to coordinate these efforts here."
Mm-hmm. And then what is the XP points? Can you explain what that is as well for those who are watching?
Yeah, so those are experience points. And the idea is that as right now we're in the awareness phase. So we have 3 seasons of what we call missions, and we'll probably have more later on. But the next 3 seasons, first season is all about awareness. How do we grow awareness of Tashi? The next season is going to be all about standing up real world supply nodes. So, supply being creating all of the resource nodes. So, right now we've got 54,000 resource nodes. All of those are running currently on DevNet Tashi. We want to migrate those to mainnet Tashi, which is once we are live. So, there'll be real value there. But we're
Mm-hmm.
also building out the reputation algorithm, the rewards algorithm, the selection algorithm for selecting nodes for certain jobs. And so season 2 is going to be all about creating a sustainable supply model for the DPIN for Lattice. And then season 3 is going to be all about demand. So that's going to be all about onboarding customers in the robotics, in the gaming, in the IoT, AI spaces. And so season 1 being all about awareness, that's what we're focusing on right now is let's get people aware of how easy it is to set up Tashi nodes. And 2, how do we get this word out to everybody in the world? How does everybody become aware of what Tashi is and how to use it? So you'll see that
Mm-hmm.
we've got network missions on the left, which is all about setting up and running the network and participating in the network. So you receive experience points for doing certain actions there. And then on the right, you have your social missions, which are let's get the word out. Let's create awareness of the technology. And so this is an awareness of both that we exist and how easy it is to participate in the network.
Yeah, I think it was fairly easy in terms of setting up the nodes that I created. Maybe took 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It
Yeah.
took that long for me mainly because I hadn't had my wallet connected to the browser quite yet. But yeah, it was very easy. In terms of switching between these seasons you're talking about, does it happen automatically for those who have chosen a longer duration of node hosting?
Yeah. So we're thinking about seasons as a way to bootstrap the actual release of Tashi as a token. So all kinds of reasons why Tashi as a token exists. We can talk about that if you want, but fundamentally the idea was we want to create a path or an avenue for people to earn Tashi so that they can continue to host Tashi as real live nodes with real Tashi once we go to mainnet with our token
Oh,
after
okay.
TGE. And so season 1 was a period to create awareness. But what's also going to happen is after TGE, probably about end of December, mid to end December, we're going to we're going to actually do the airdrop from season one. So anybody that's participating between now and TGE is part of season one earning period. So as you earn XP, we'll have an airdrop in mid to late December that will give you real mainnet Tashi that you could then use to bond your nodes on the mainnet. So now you can use real Tashi to bond your nodes on the mainnet that you earned during season one. And then once those are bonded, you're going to start earning for season two. So the idea is we're trying to think of like how do we create this flywheel where people can participate, contribute resources, and get rewarded in the long term over season one, two, and three. But we need to bootstrap that from season one. We need to be able to give
Mm.
people enough Tashi, or at least a way to run devices if they've got those devices available. How do we give them a way to earn Tashi and run devices for the next few seasons?
Okay, okay. Nice. Yeah, that's a little sneak peek. We'll talk more about that maybe if we can have Ken back again
Yeah,
at another AMA. But let's go ahead and talk about our hot tech news, what's coming up or what's coming in the world of tech. Ken, thank you so much for your explanation. If any of you have any
absolutely.
questions about what Ken has discussed or mentioned, there is that Q&A feature. By all means, feel free to use it. We will try and incorporate it into the flow of the AMA if we can. But if not, of course, we have that AMA section at the end that we'll hit as well. And if you have any individual questions for any of us, you can say, "Hey, Nathan, what's your favorite smoothie?" Right? And then Nathan will answer that. So, without further ado, here is our tech news that we'll discuss and I think has good implications onto just generally AI, robotics, possibly autonomous vehicles in the future. The future of ChatGPT. So I will frame it for everyone, and then we will open it up to discussion and then just general questions. So, the future of ChatGPT. Last week, or perhaps even earlier this week, time flies, ChatGPT released a feature or a hint, a sneak peek of their group chats, right? So, as we can see, if we go one by one, the furthest screen on my left, our left, is someone researching what to eat. I believe it's a restaurant, right? And then from there, you go into that share feature in the second window. You can invite people into that chat to discuss about what restaurant to go to. And right, this is a case study of sorts. The third window shows the different group chats. We can see based off of the icons that they incorporate different people. You can do it all at the same time. Italian restaurants, plant suggestions, house party ideas. And then from there, you can click into that, and then there will be a group chat message, I believe hosted natively on ChatGPT as it looks like it's similar UI UX. So with that in mind, what first, let's go over what are our thoughts and would you use this? Let's go ahead and start with Nathan. Nathan, go ahead. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, this seems super cool. Like, I feel like, I mean, my personal experience, a lot of the time, friend groups or big parties don't happen is just because the coordination, like these people are working full time and they just don't have the patience or the time to set things up like this. But I mean, it's just like such a nice like quality of life, like it lets you connect with other people and I guess like does the heavy lifting. So I mean, yeah, I think this is great. Like something like this, more of it. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for sharing. And then let's go with Hera, Gary, and then we'll go with Ken, as I think Ken has some ways to tie this to Tashi and then the work they're doing there. Go for it, Hera.
Oh, um, I'll leave it to Ken and Gary maybe.
Oh, okay, okay. Gary, go ahead.
Oh, okay, okay. I think this is a super version of the WeChat, something like that. Yeah, because it's far beyond group chat. Yeah, it's the ChatGPT is a intelligent robot, and it can help you to book the hotel, find the restaurant, something like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
How could this possibly tie into Rover?
um, I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know because I haven't used this feature yet.
mm, mm. I guess I
Cool.
had a little bit more time imagining it. I think ad placements could be really cool, right? In terms of offering ideas. But then again, you get into the issue of privacy and connection. And then another way could be for debates or fact checking, in which we could work as a team if we chose to do so, right? Because then you would be offering your input into ChatGPT of what is a statistic or what is the best next steps. And then therefore, rather than texting or messaging someone, it all just lives in that chat. But then again, yes, the issue of privacy and security. Ken, what are your thoughts?
Oh boy. I mean, my first thought is already how much data are we going to hand to OpenAI in the first place? So, and then now we're tapping into like our social connectivity. So the first thought is a privacy thought, right? That's always where my head goes is how can I use these tools while still preserving privacy? I like to use a lot of open source AI tools now because I don't want to give a bunch to OpenAI. But I'll be honest, ChatGPT is just better at a lot of things and a lot of open source tooling. So sometimes I just bite the bullet and use it anyway. And now you're talking about exposing all of my social relationships and conversations to OpenAI as well. Like already, it's just I'm feeling a little gut wrenched. The other side of me is like, why not just go to where the chats are happening? Gary talked about WeChat. Like
Mm,
everybody in Asia is using WeChat. In the US, everybody's using Telegram or WhatsApp. Um,
mm,
I already have bots that do this. Like, I don't know why we need an entire group chat. I can create a Telegram group, and I've got bots that will tie directly using N8N to tie directly into my chat GPT. And I can ask the bot questions in my group chat that don't expose who in my group chat is asking those questions,
Oh,
and
wow.
doesn't expose the rest of the context of the conversation unless I want to. Like, that's fully optional up to me how much context I want to expose. And that's like, it's a 10-minute setup with N8N to connect ChatGPT to N8N and create a Telegram bot. And now I've got a group chat Telegram bot that uses my ChatGPT credentials and does a similar thing without exposing the full context of our conversation. So part of me is just like, why? Why did they put this energy into this? And maybe the answer is just it's simple. Like
Yeah.
nobody has to set up N8N. Nobody has to think about creating Telegram bots. Maybe that's the answer is that, AI didn't really get traction until somebody created a chat, till OpenAI created the chat. I mean, I remember when that popped up and we had been watching Dolly and all of these AI models operating for, geez, what was it, like 6, 7 years?
Mhm.
And really it wasn't exciting to us. And it wasn't until chat became a thing and we're like, oh, I can chat with this thing now and it'll answer my questions. And even though at the time it was really dumb, it was still so exciting that suddenly everybody knew about it. And so maybe this is that thing, right? This is
Mm.
the tool that exposes how valuable this is in group settings to the whole world. Well, I'm still really skeptical about privacy and stuff like that. So anyway, I probably won't use this tool. I'll probably continue using my bots in Telegram.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll probably be trying to use my private open source AIs for the most part, but there's just some things that ChatGPT is just so much better at doing. It has a much broader and more modern training model than anything that I can run locally.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point of bringing it to the masses, right? Critical adoption or critical mass, I believe is the word for it. Of I do already think that ChatGPT is there of being able to have that bandwidth, that breadth, that brand marketing of, oh yeah, I know it, I use it. But I think this adds another layer of connectivity and then also further buy-in, right? Because let's say you receive that invite via messages or email of join this ChatGPT group to discuss your future dinner plans. And are you going to choose to be left out of inviting your friends and then figuring out what you're going to eat on Friday night? I think a lot of people would have a hard time saying no to that,
It's the
right? It's
blue
like, oh,
bubble
why can't we just
effect.
have it in chat messages? But then you have that FOMO or that fear of missing out.
Yeah, it's the blue bubble effect, right? So those of
Oh,
you who
that's a
have
great one of putting
iPhones,
it. Yes.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that's
And then for
exactly
those of
right.
you that don't know the blue bubble effect, that's the idea that iPhones communicate between each other and you have the blue bubble. But when an iPhone communicates to an Android or an Android communicates to an Android, they're green and that's not as cool,
Yeah.
perceivably.
Yeah,
Right?
and you might be missing out on cool features if you don't have the blue bubble.
Yes, also that. I remember iMessage games and likes, your comment or your message. Those are great times. I mean, they are great
Yep.
times. We still have those. But let's go ahead and talk about integration with Tashi. What are your thoughts on possibly integrating here or perhaps connecting back and forth between networks?
Yeah, I think this is actually a perfect example of where the privacy part might be preserved through Tashi. So if these chats were actually happening strictly peer-to-peer, via Tashi, where you don't even need relay servers per se, or if you do, you have decentralized relay servers. So right now, if we think about even end-to-end connected chats, the data is actually still stored and relayed from centralized servers for almost all of our chats, whether it's Telegram, WhatsApp, even Signal, right? Signal, which is probably the that's the bar for security and privacy. But they're still storing the data of the messages. Now, it's encrypted and you can't play
Hmm.
with it, and that's fine. But what we're saying is, what if you could create peer-to-peer channels and have Tashi synchronize that chat and order those messages in a reliable way that everybody can see the same message stream without worry of there being a man in the middle who's listening or storing even the encrypted messages. And so we've talked about this many times at Tashi is building like a strictly peer-to-peer chat that is just you find your friends and you connect and nobody in the world knows what's going on in your chat except for you in your chat. And then you can create bots to ChatGPT and get a very similar experience, but without OpenAI knowing what's going on. So I think that's where Tashi could fit in. Now, granted, we got to get through TGE first, and then we can talk about building these killer apps. But we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, and that, yes, again, is the future of ChatGPT. And after, of course, we have room for our community questions. So one more time, again, if you have any questions, there's that Q&A feature, and this will also take a moment for us to address anything that I missed for Gary, Ken, Nathan, or Hera. If there's anything that you want to bring up here that you're like, oh yeah, I should have mentioned that while I was talking, or oh yeah, I didn't have the time to mention that when we were on that segment. Now is that time, right? And I'll leave a moment for you all to think about that, and then also to just feel free to say if there's anything.
Yeah, I think for rover has been collecting the petabytes of the data and require a large scale platform for storage, processing, training, inference. So, right now, we are using the Amazon, the AWS S3 to handle the storage. I think maybe in the future we can synergy or collaboration with Tashi network. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's a big deal. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think, we're not trying to solve the storage problem. I think people have solved the
yeah,
storage problem with private data centers and cloud. What we want to do
yeah,
is we want to solve the multi-party problem. Like if you have multiple data centers or multiple storage sites,
mm,
ensuring that the data stays in sync, and then even if you have large databases, how do we keep those in sync? So, but yeah, I love that idea. I think there's a lot of
yeah,
discussion around the AI side, but also on the sensor side. Like
yeah,
even helping cars navigate, robo taxis navigate intersections as they approach, creating a little private, quick Tashi session to navigate the intersection and then leave the session when they've passed through the intersection type of thing. So I think a lot of what both of you guys are doing, I'm like really keen to engage with because I think we can just add that extra layer of decentralization at the device level.
Nice.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
All right. Ken, is there anything else you'd like to address, or would you like to hit the questions we have in the Q&A?
Yeah, let's go for the questions. I
All
see
right.
David joined us too. What's up, David?
Yes. Hi, David. All right. Here's a question from Justin. It's a long one. I'll read it out. Will a specific game be developed soon that incorporates all three projects? Perhaps related to Token Run, right? That's GeoDNet's app that's releasing soon. Perhaps an AR option on Token Run where values matter as much as XY location and hexes. Think Pokemon Go, but for crypto. Will Tashi come out with a plug and play node piece of hardware for which those who run them may be rewarded to encourage more nodes being hosted? And are there any non-gaming outputs that might come from this collaboration, such as for civil engineering, education, or agriculture, not being mutually exclusive?
Yeah, I can answer all those from the Tashi perspective, and then Teddy and Gary, if you guys want to jump in. But um, I, trust me, I've been looking at Token Run. I think there's some things we can do there. Um, so there might be some collaborations going on there. I'd say that we haven't really talked about that yet, Teddy, but let's definitely have that discussion. As far as the hardware goes, there has been some discussion. I don't know that Tashi is going to come out with hardware, but maybe some of the partnerships that we have, there will be a hardware option that includes Tashi as a first class citizen. We already are doing that with a number of projects, but let's just say that anywhere that you are installing hardware that has the compute capacity of a Raspberry Pi, we could likely also make that multi-mining option for Tashi. And there are a few discussions about dedicated devices for both AI, network security, sensor nodes, and Tashi running all on it. So there's that option. And then the non-gaming outputs. I'll just use a use case that I know would fit GeoDNet's model and quite possibly Rover as well. But it was still such early discussions that it's almost not worth mentioning. But in California, we have fires, right? And so I've been talking to lawmakers and regulators. Wouldn't it be cool if we had robo lawnmowers that we could provision to help cut fire lines in neighborhoods that belong to people, right? So if I live in a neighborhood and everybody's got robo lawnmowers and we've got a fire coming our direction because this is common in California, why couldn't Cal Fire just go, hey, we need 100 robo lawnmowers to go cut, a circle around this community so that fire can't jump into the community? And so suddenly everybody's robo lawnmowers is sitting in their front lawn, drives out, drives in the bike lane. You've got this army of robo lawnmowers. They cut the fire line around the neighborhood and then go back to their homes and everybody gets compensated. Tashi would be used for the scan, plan, and execute part, the synchronization on the scan, plan, and execute between the robots. So you just say, here's the job that needs to get done. Robots all figure out between themselves who's going to cut which part of that fire line, and then they upload all the results to Cal Fire and say, this is who did what. Everybody validated each other, and everybody gets compensated from the Cal Fire budget instead of Cal Fire sending a bunch of firefighters out, spending more money and putting lives at risk. Why not just send a bunch of robo lawnmowers out to do the work? So that's a scenario where RTK and the partnerships that GeoDNet has become very useful. And this is an example I've been given to lawmakers and regulators, and their minds are just getting blown right now. Like I think we're going to have a huge breakthrough in DePIN in California, maybe even like a carve out or a sandbox for a lot of DePIN projects in California because of specifically what GeoDNet has done. I've been using GeoDNet as an example in a lot of those discussions. So anyway, that's the type of collaboration outside of gaming, outside of cars that could be useful. And I guarantee Rover's a big part of that because of a lot of the geospatial scanning technologies and mapping.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary, is there anything else you'd like to add to that one?
Yeah, because I think the real application is essential. Yeah, so I totally agree with Ken about this part. Yeah.
Nice. Yes, I look forward to our future collaborations. I think there's a lot of potential there, especially with the case study that Ken has mentioned. All right. The
Yeah,
next
and
question.
also
Oh, go
sorry,
for it, Hera.
a lot of friends have been DMing me about asking about Token Ran and the upcoming like collaboration within the app with Rover and Tashi. So just a quick note, our official Solana app launch date is December 3rd. So meanwhile, please stay tuned for our formal announcement, and we sincerely recommend everyone playing or trying to hunt tokens for token run after the official launch for best experience. Like the test version, there are some issues and we're still finalizing that. So, and also a reminder that Tashi's TGE is on December 2nd. So please make sure you follow Tashi's X account and join their Discord channel for the timely update, and followed by our Solana app for official launch on December 3rd. And I mean, the Tashi token may be joining our real world token collection for a limited time during December. And yeah, please stay tuned.
Nice. Yes. Good plug. Good plug. All right. Let's go two more questions and then we will call it there to be respectful of everyone's time. So, what are you guys cooking at Intercognitive for Ken and Nathan? If you can talk about that, of course.
Oof. Not sure how much we can talk about, Nathan, but good call this morning. We had our all hands meeting with the entire intercognitive group. Let's just say that just this morning in our call, we probably made about four potential POC connections. It's like suddenly, it's like everybody was talking about how we can help each other and who should talk to whom. So we've got some really good momentum going there. So I expect you'll see a bunch of proofs of concept coming out of the intercognitive group. A lot of amazing synergies coming out of it. We got a bunch of people who might be joining soon, so we'll be making some announcements on that. I can't really talk about who, but we this morning had a number of people come in as prospects and kind of pitch their project for joining Intercognitive. So there's a few cool projects that I'd be pretty excited to announce if they get accepted. But I can't talk about who they are yet. So anyway, all
Yes,
super
that
secret, right?
yeah, that's another AMA, right? And then I think Rover is also on the same page. Is Rover joining soon? You're gonna have to wait and see about that one. Right, Gary? Confirm that one or deny.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, in the future, I think we will join the intercognitive project. It's amazing project. Yeah, I met it.
Oh,
I met it in Singapore, I think. Yeah,
oh yeah? Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
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 I'll hear more about that one offline. Okay.
yeah.
And then the last one. Any thoughts on GeoDNet devices being able to dual mine Rover tokens? Gary, this
Oh,
one's for you.
I don't think so because the rover devices need to move and need to install on top of car. And the GeoNet, I think, GeoNet, the GeoPOS, maybe, yeah, we will talk this more in the future. Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
but we
Okay.
cannot put the RDK station on the car. Yeah,
Mm-mm. Yeah, that is true, right? Because it has to talk to each other. Okay,
yeah.
and then I will answer this one. What is the best way to get involved with Tashi and Token Run? Right now, the best way to get involved with Tashi is, let's go back to that slide we had. They're pre-TGE, right? You can access that on what website, Ken? Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, so that's going to be depin, DEPIN dot Tashi dot network. That's where you're going to
Nice.
find it.
Yes. So that is how you can get yourself involved with Tashi. And with Token Run, you can download the app. If you have a Solana phone or an Android phone, we are going live in December. And remember, we all have various social medias, Discord, X, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram. You can find all of those through any of our pages. You can go through the beacons or the link tree, that link in bio. Would be happy to have you there. So, Ken, is there anything I missed or anything that you want to mention one more time?
No, that's amazing. I would just say everybody go jump into our dashboard, participate in our season one of our missions, and get ready for our launch pool on December 2nd and TGE on December 4th. We look forward to having everybody participate.
Nice. Yes. Okay. And that is our weekly AMA. Good morning, good night to you all. If you have any questions, again, feel free to tag us on X, reach out to us on Discord or any of your preferred social media, and we'll be sure to get back to you there. Until then, we will not have an AMA next week, as next week is Thanksgiving, so we'll be back in 2 weeks, right? And hopefully we can have Ken or perhaps another member of Tashi join us in the future to go ahead and talk about their TGE and then again more in depth from there. So, goodbye, y'all. Good night. I hope you all have a good one.
Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thanks again, Ken, for joining.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah, thanks for having
Ken.
me.
Yes. All right. I will end the meeting here. I will let you all part ways. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
guys.